This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, great. So let me open up my PowerShell console. And I'm opening the PowerShell console. And if I have to, let's say, log into Azure, guys, using this PowerShell console, what is the command? Can anyone help me out with that? If I have to log into Azure using PowerShell, can anyone tell me what's the command here? Anyone, guys?
Login as
Login.
agent account.
So login hyphen is account. So guys, please do practice this out, because if you are not going to practice it, it will be difficult to follow the class. And let's say if I want to write something on the PowerShell console, I want to write something in the output console, then what is the command here, guys?
Right
Anyone?
host.
Write
Right
host, and then in quotes, I can write something. So that's what we seen, right? Then let's say if you want the user to enter something, read host, right? So you can
read
do a
host.
read hyphen host, and then you can assign a variable to it. Talking about variable assignment, how do you assign a variable to a value, guys? Like how do you do a variable assignment? How
Dollar
do you do a
text.
dollar, right? So dollar something is equal to, and then you can give a name of variable out there, right? Okay. So we are so far done with something like write host. We said write host is to write something on the output console. We said write host is something like what? Writing on the output console like hello world. And then we said something like read host, read hyphen host, is to read something from the output console, meaning is to ask the user to enter something or ask the user to input something here. So user input. Then we said, okay, fine, write host and read host are good enough. Now we'll have to start, working with, let's say, Azure using the PowerShell console that we have. And we said in order to log into Azure, you can say login hyphen AZ account, or you can also say connect hyphen AZ account. Anything works. Login hyphen AZ account or connect hyphen AZ account, anything works. So this is the first thing that you'll have to start, or this is the first thing that you'll have to begin with when you want to go ahead and let's say when you want to go ahead and let's say interact with the Azure services online. Okay. Now I have a couple of services running in the backend. How do I look at those services? Like what is the command in order to look at get hyphen something, right? So let's say if I want to look at the resource groups in Azure, then what is the command that I have? Get hyphen AZ resource group. So let's do one thing. I'll first go ahead log in myself out here. So let's say, so if I type the command here in the white screen, right, you can save it as a notepad or as like a file out here. But if you type something here, you won't be able to save it. It's just like a run command out here. So what I'll do right now is that I don't want to save my login. So I'm entering my login here and I'm saying login hyphen AZ account. I'm just doing an enter. And as in when I do an enter, it asks me to go ahead and log into my Azure account. So I'll do that. And once I log in, it'll say, okay, fine. I have grabbed your Azure details, like the Azure tenant, the Azure subscription ID, and etc. So I'll say, okay, fine. I'll just sign in. And as and when I do a sign in, I mean, I am already signed in with the browser. So I do not have to explicitly go ahead and give my ID and password. But just in case if you all are firstly interacting with Azure, then you'll have to give the ID, password, and etc. And once you give it, it says, okay, fine, I am logged into this particular subscription. Now, very importantly, guys, when you do a login, you have to see all these details, the name of the subscription, the name of the tenant ID, and everything. You have to see these details getting outputted. Fine, so I've logged into Azure. Now, what I want is that I want to see what are all the resource groups on the Azure subscription. I want to see what resource groups that I've created, what I can go ahead and create further. So I'll say get hyphen AZ resource group. As and when I do a get hyphen AC resource group, I can go ahead and execute this specific line out here. And do you see, guys, in the next line after I executed it, it did not return me any value. Can anyone tell me what does this mean? So I'm like logged into my Azure account. I did a get hyphen AZ resource group out here, but I'm not getting anything. It's just a blank that is coming back. I don't have any resource groups. Yes, it can be that I don't have any resource groups. So let's go into my portal and I see that I don't have any resource groups out here. So there is nothing that I went ahead and created out here. And one of the key ingredient of any programming language, like let's say PowerShell, the end goal of anything is to make sure to reduce a human effort of going ahead and recreating again and again. So I have to make my script in a smarter way, meaning I want the user to decide what is the name of the resource group and etc. I want it to be in a smarter way, and I want someone to reuse my scripts. Okay, just give me 1 second, guys. So the key ingredient of any script is that I'd like to reuse it. There is something known as reusability. That if I give this script to anyone, they will just have to run this script, provide their own name of the resource group, and end up creating something. Right? One of the ways to do it is by using a command known as read host. I can say read host and I can say, okay, fine, please enter the name of a resource group and etc. Do that. But in advanced PowerShell scripts, read host is very rarely used. The reason being, it's a runtime variable. You'll have to enter it in the runtime and etc. But you will not have a pleasure of doing that every time in a runtime. You cannot have the luxury of doing it every time in the runtime. That's the reason PowerShell has a concept known as parameterization. It's similar like read host, but in a better way. Meaning, let's say I want to, my end goal right now is to do two things right now. I want the users to decide the name of the resource groups themselves. Like whatever is the resource group name, I'm okay for the user to go ahead and enter it, and my script should create it. So I need two things here: resource group name, one. B is the location of the resource group. B is, let's say, the location of the resource group. So I'll say location. These are the two values what I want to be dynamic, not static in nature. Meaning I don't want this to be a static value. I want the user to enter this every time when he wants to run this script, so that he can end up creating a new resource group every time when he runs this script. Okay. For this, what I'll do is that one of the ways, yes, it is read host is one of the ways, but read host is not, let's say, the best possible way to achieve this out. That's the reason what I will do in the starting of my script, like this is the header of my script, and here I'll open up a statement or I'll open up a function known as param. This is called parameterization. This is telling my script what are the mandatory parameters that are essential to run this. Now, how do I tell my script here? Is that I'll say param, open and close parenthesis. Inside this, whichever variable that I'm giving, whichever variable that I'm declaring, will become a mandatory variable, meaning the user has to pass that variable and the script can store the variable in its memory. So here in my script, I want to achieve two things. One, I want the resource group name to be a dynamic value. The location should also be a dynamic value. So what I'll do here is that I'll say dollar resource group name. I say dollar resource group name firstly, and I also want a location, right? I can give a comma here and I can declare another parameter called location. So I'm declaring how many? Two parameters in this particular script. Now what I'll do out here is that Just to make sure this is working fine, or just to make sure how this is working, how can a user input here? What I'll do is that I'll say write host name of the resource group is dollar resource group name. Whatever parameter I'm passing here, I'm just calling it here. So I am passing a parameter there, meaning I have just passed a parameter. I haven't declared a value to that parameter. It's a null value right now. And I'm saying write host name of the resource group is dollar resource group name, and write host location is dollar location. And now what I'll do is that this is a very tool, a simple script, a very two-liner script where I'm introducing a concept known as parameterization. So what I'm doing right now is that I'll just say save. Okay, I'll just do a control S and it'll now ask me, okay, fine, where do you want to save this out? So what I'll do is like I'll just select a folder. I'll just say new folder and I'll just say parameterization, or I'll just say parameter, and I just created a folder here and I'll say this is test and dot ps1. PowerShell files are always saved in the format of ps1. It's PowerShell scripts. Okay, just like text documents have an extension of .txt and PDF has an extension of .pdf, here it is .ps1 out here. So I'm saying, okay, fine, test ps1, and I'm saving this out. Now what I'm going to do out here is that, okay, fine, we can take this out. I'll say CLS clear screen. Now I want to go inside the path where the script is saved. Okay, so I know that this is the path. So let me open my path here. Let me say H, and this is the parameter file, and let's say this is the parameter folder, and this is the test file that I just saved here. Okay, so I know this is my path. H parameter is my path. Now I can come down here and I can say right now I am in C users / welcome. This is the path that I am on. Just in case if this is not getting displayed for you all, sometimes it might happen. Just in case this is not getting displayed, how do you know where you're working in? You can do pwd, present working directory. You can do a pwd command here and say enter. It says this is the path where you're working from right now. This is the working directory of PowerShell. This is where you're working from right now. So I will say, okay, fine. I don't want to work from this particular path. I want to change my path. So in order to change the path, right, it is cd, change directory. I'll just do a space. In quotes, I am passing the path that I've just copied. You just say enter, and now the H parameter is coming into picture. And if I again do a PWD, it is H parameters. This is where I'm working from. Now we all know that this file is saved in this particular path, right? This is the only file that is there in this particular folder out here. So I'm inside the folder now. So I want to now call this file, meaning I want to now execute this file. What do I do is that I'll say dot backslash, meaning look into the folder. Dot backslash is that look into the folder where you're working from. And it says, okay, fine. I have what? Test.ps1. This is the only file that I have. I'll say, okay, fine, take this file. Now this file, in order to get executed successfully, needs those two parameters out there, which is called resource group name and location, because there are what passed as mandatory parameters. So this script is expecting the user to pass these two. Now how would I pass as a user is I'll say I'm calling the script. I'll just do a space hyphen. As I do a hyphen, now it's telling, okay, fine, I understand that there are two mandatory parameters that you have declared in your script inside something known as a param block. Please pass them out. I'll say, okay, fine, resource group name test01 hyphen location east US2. I'll say enter. Now when I do an enter, it's telling name of the resource group is test-01 or test01, location is east US2. Now when you ask the question that you do not need the command to come in, this is how we do it. So in this place, you do not have the command that is getting as an output. It's only the output that is being displayed in the console here. Okay, so this is how I did a parameterization right now. Any questions here, guys? Why, what did I do? How did I do? Any questions before we move forward? So what did I do? I said, okay, fine. I declared two parameters inside something known as a param block. So I said param, the syntax is param, open and close parenthesis. And you can declare multiple parameters here. Is there any limit? No, there is no limit at all. You can declare any number of parameters that you want for your script. Okay, so let me do a CLS right now. And here, what I'm going to do is that, okay, fine, right host, this is great. But this is not my end goal, right? I want to go ahead and create a resource group out there. So I'll say, okay, fine. Now in line number 10, I'm saying new hyphen AZ resource group. I'm doing a what? A new hyphen AZ resource group hyphen space hyphen name. And in the name, I am passing what? I should pass the name known as test01, but I do not know whether the name is test01, 4, 5, whatever it is. I want the user to decide this out, right? So I will take the parameter here, which is called dollar resource group name. Resource group name is coming from the runtime. And I'll say hyphen location is a dollar location. So whatever values that the user is passing, I am storing it in these two values known as dollar resource group name and dollar location. And I'm passing it to the command in line number 10. So these two are getting in the runtime. And as and when I'm getting it, I am storing these values in a dollar resource group and a dollar location. And I'm using them here in this particular line known as line number 10, where I'm creating or where I'm ending up creating the resource group. So let me do one thing. Let me say, okay, fine. Again, I'll just save the script now. As and when I do it, as and when I entered a new line, my script has a star next to it, meaning it's not saved. So I'll have to just save this out. I'll just do a control S. The star is now gone. Now I'll again call my script. So I don't have to enter the entire thing again. I'm just pressing the up key on my keyboard. So up key on your keyboard will give you what are all the commands that you're using. So I am now using something known as test hyphen ps1 hyphen resource group name hyphen location. Resource group name is test01, and now I'll say enter. Now it says, okay, fine. I have printed the line 7 and line 8. I also went ahead and created a resource group right now. Okay. But again, this is good enough. The script is like good enough. But what if the user comes back again, enters the same name and the same location? Or let's say enters a different location at this point in time. Let's say it is not East US 2, but it is West US. Now it's giving me a dialog box telling me that the provided resource group already exists. Are you sure you want to update it? Because resource group is already there. You sure you update it? Yes, I'll say yes. And it took some time and it went ahead and threw an error here. It's telling invalid resource group location. The resource group already exists. The same name already exists in East US 2, meaning I cannot create a resource group with the same name again. Because if I just refresh this, I have a test01 right now. I'll say create and I'll say test01 and I'll try to create it in any different location. It says this resource group is already taken. The name of the resource group is already taken. But being a user, right? This script is not just for one user, but multiple users can, kind of reuse this out. Now, as a user of a PowerShell, like, as let's say someone who's new to PowerShell, I'm not really sure what this error really means. Now I'll again have to reach out to a DevOps engineer to understand what error that I'm doing, how can I correct myself, and etc. I don't want that to happen. I want my script to be a bit intelligent, and the script should just tell, not throw an error, just tell that the user that if let's say if you're entering the resource group name which is already existing, it should just tell that what, the resource group already exists. Please choose a new name. This resource group with this name cannot be created because it already exists. Please choose a new name. If the name is not already taken, meaning if it's a new name that we are entering, it should end up creating it out. So I have to do a what? If else. If the name exists, then please let the user know that the name exists. If the name doesn't exist, then I'll have to just tell the user that, you know what, name doesn't exist. I'll create one right now. Okay, this is how my script should be intelligent. So key ingredient of reusability, one I said it is parameterization. So we have a parameter, we declared a parameter, great. Second is my script should be intelligent enough to tell the user whether the resource group already exists or not. So intelligent by using what? If else loop out here. But if I need to know whether the resource group with that particular name already exists or not, I need to first get the resource group, right? I need to get the resource group with that particular name. Let's do one thing then. Before even writing all these things out, in line number 9, I will open up a variable known as rg status, the status of a resource group, and I'm saying get hyphen az resource group. So I am firstly checking whether the name that is there or the name that the user has passed is already there in the Azure portal or not, is already there in my subscription or not. And I'm saying now it is not just a get hyphen az resource group, but hyphen name. I am saying the name of the resource group that I want to check for is dollar resource group name. Meaning, even before going to line number 13, I am doing a check at line number 11 and I'm seeing whether that particular resource group exists or not. Okay, if it doesn't exist, then please go ahead and create this out. So what I'll do right now is again, I'll save my script. I'll say CLS. And this time I'll just pass a different name out here like 02. I'll just do an enter. Now, when I pass the 02, right, again it threw an error in red telling that, you know what, the provided resource group does not exist. Now, where is this error coming from, guys? Can anyone spot where is this error coming from? Can anyone tell me? Online, offline, anyone, guys? Why am I getting this error?
Line number 11.
I'm sorry, yes.
Error is from line number 11.
I'm sorry.
Line number 11 is the error.
Line number 11. So, meaning in line number 11, what am I doing? I am checking if a resource group with that particular name that I've entered, which is test02, exists or not. That's what I'm checking right now. And when I'm trying to do a get call out here, I'm going to the Azure portal and this command is checking for that particular resource group. And it's now throwing an error telling that, you know what, this particular name, I haven't found it. Okay. And then what it did, after it threw an error, it came down and it went ahead and created one. Because it wasn't there, it went ahead and created one out here, right? But I don't want to throw an error here. In line number 11, I don't want to get an error because I am definitely sure that the user is going to enter a new resource group every time. And every time he will get an error, right? Every time the script will run into an error. Now, what happens sometimes is that PowerShell by default works in such a way that, let's say at line number 11, if it throws an error, the execution will stop at that line. Okay, normally when it works in that way. So what I am telling here at line number 11 is that, okay, fine, if you are not getting the resource group, it's okay. I'm okay with that. I don't want you to throw an error. How do I tell my command not to throw an error out here is that in this line, in line number 11, I'm just doing a space and I'm just doing a hyphen and I'm saying error action. I'm just giving an additional parameter out here telling that the error action and I'm telling what to do when you have an error. I'll say silently continue. Okay, if you have an error, I understand you have an error, but I don't want you to throw the error on the output console because I know I will get an error if the resource group doesn't exist. Okay, now I'll say in line number 13, now I'm using this particular parameter known as rg status. Now, if the RG status exists, then what should we get, guys? Can anyone tell me that? Let's try doing that. I'll say write host RG status. I'm just printing the value out. Okay. So I'll say comment this line. I'm not executing this particular command. I'll just save. And I can open up my PowerShell console and I'm giving the same name again. Now it says okay fine location is west and then it says okay fine Microsoft.command something 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 like this. It's giving me something, meaning if RG status is there, meaning if RG status has the value, if RG status has a value, it means that there is a resource group with that particular name already there in the portal. Okay, because RG status here is trying to get some resource group out here. If let's say I pass a new resource group that is not there, I'll say test03 because I know test03 is not existing out there. So I'll say okay fine, and it said name of the resource group is test03, location is west US, and then it did not print anything in the RG status. Why did it not print anything in the RG status? Is because RG status out here is a null value. It's not able to get anything in that particular value. Following, guys? Is there any confusion here? Any confusions here, guys? Any Is anyone not able to follow? Or anyone wants me to explain this again?
Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. We are not checking that right now. We will check that again. We will check that in this particular line. Meaning what I'm going to do right now is that yes, the compiler is assigning the status here. If the resource group exists, then this has a value. I know that, right? No, we are passing the get call to the RG status. Meaning this is a command. This is a get hyphen az resource group command where I am passing the name and I'm saying error action is silently continue. Even if you don't find it, please don't do anything out here. Please don't throw an error out here. That's what I'm telling the get command out here. Now, but if I have some value here, okay, where am I getting this value, guys? I'm getting this value from the console. Like user is passing this value known as RG. I mean, resource group name is something like test03 or something like that. If I am able to get something, meaning if that particular resource group exists, then I know that RG status has a value, meaning it has something, it has some value out there. If it is not there, if no resource group is found, RG status is returning a null value, right? RG status is returning a null value. Now, what I'm going to do out here is that I will say, I'll just take this command out. I'll say if $RG status is equal to null. When can RG status be equal to null, guys? If there is no resource group with that particular name, then I will say write hyphen host the provided name is $resource group name. Let me just copy this out. Does not exist. Attempting to create one. And in the if loop, I am now saying new hyphen az resource group hyphen name of the resource group is a resource group name hyphen location of the resource group is a dollar location. This is where I am creating it in the if loop, and the if condition will only be satisfied if rg status is equal to a null value. And when can rg status be equal to a null value? When line number 11 returns a null. When will line number 11 return a null? When that name doesn't exist on the Azure portal. So this is how I am making use of the entire statements that I've built till now. I'll say okay fine, if it is null then okay fine, go ahead and create something else. I'll say, and when can it be else? If rg status has a value. If rg status has a value, it means that line number 11 is returning me something. And when can it return something? When resource group name exists on the Azure portal. Then I'll say write host the name resource group name is already taken. Please try a new one. So I'm making sure that my script is intelligent enough and doesn't throw any errors out there, doesn't throw any outright errors out there telling that okay fine, the resource group doesn't exist and etc. Because as a user who doesn't know anything about PowerShell, because in all likely I will end up giving this particular scripts to someone like my client who might not know or who might not have the knowledge of PowerShell scripts. So even someone who doesn't have a knowledge of PowerShell scripts should be able to understand something from the output. That's what is the intention that we are doing out here. So I'll say okay fine, we don't need this line now because I've already reused this line in line number 16. So I'll just edit this out, and now I'll come back. I'll just do a CLS out here. Say dot backslash SPS1 hyphen resource group name. Now I'll say it is test02. Say location North Europe. Now it says the name test02 is already taken. Please try a new one, because I have already created this particular resource group with that particular name. Test02 already exists on my portal. Now let's say if I pass a name of a resource group which doesn't exist, something like 03. Now it says the provided name test03 does not exist, and it went up and created something like a resource group out here, meaning it went into the if loop out here. It went inside the if statement because this condition, the rg status equal to null, got satisfied. And this only got satisfied because line number 11, which is checking the status of the rg, is returning a null value, and it's only returning a null value because the name, which is rg name, resource group name, that the user is passing on the output console is not there. Okay, this is how I'm making use of my script. Okay, any questions here guys with this? rg status is like acting as an array, yes. So rg status is my checker right now, telling that whether the status is equal to null or not null, depending upon which I am going ahead and let's say creating, let's say, the resource groups or not creating the resource groups. Any questions till here guys? Anything till here? Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So if the test.exe is coming like this, right? So let's say I don't pass the value at all. I just forget to pass the value. I'll just throw an error, something like this. It says cannot validate the parameter name. Cannot validate the parameter name out here because the get hyphen resource group, it's not getting anything there. And if you see, it's saying name of the resource group is again null, location is null. There is no value there. Okay. So there is no value there. So that's the reason it's going ahead and kind of throwing an error out here. Any questions here? Anything else here? So this is how we make the scripts reusable, that whenever you just change the parameter and just declare something out here, it should go ahead and be intelligent enough to understand whether the resource group is there or not. And if it's there, don't create it, just tell the user that please try out a new name. If it is not there, then go ahead and create it out. This is what I'm telling my scripts how to do. Okay. Now again, resource groups are basic entities. Let's say, now let's do one more thing. I'll just so refresh out here. I have a test03 as well. Now I want to create another resource group with a different name. Let's say something like resource test do not delete. I'm just creating one random resource group out here and I'm saying okay fine, just create this out for me. So now you have a situation. I'm just presenting a scenario out here where you have three different resource groups with a pattern: test01, test02, test03. One resource group which is the odd one out, which doesn't follow this pattern, which is test01, test02, test03. Then I have the fourth resource group, which is resource test do not delete. Now what I want my script to do is only delete the resource groups that are starting with test, whether it's 01, 02, 03, whatever it is. I'm okay with that. Starting with a pattern, I only want to delete those resource groups out here. Okay. So can anyone tell me how should I write my logic for this? I just need an approach, a very bare basic approach. Anything is okay. Like a very bare basic approach on, let's say if I give this particular task to you, how would you approach it out? Anyone? Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so I mean to say something like get hyphen az resource group, and in the name we just pass the name out here. Like in the name we just pass the name out here. So let's try that. So let's come back to my script out here. I'll say new. I'll just open up a variable known as rg names. It's an array. It's an rg name array. I'll say simple command get hyphen az resource group. I'm just doing a get hyphen az resource group, and I'm just executing this particular command out here. And what happened is that it went ahead and it got all the resource group names out here. So it has all these resource group names out here. So let's come back here. It has test01, ECS2 succeeded, subscription and everything. Then it has resource group name, resource do not delete and etc. Then it has test03, test02 and etc. So it went ahead, got all the resource groups out here. Now one thing out here guys is that, is it only getting the resource group name? Not really. It's getting the entire object. It's getting an entire object of resource group name, location, provisioning state, tags, resource ID, everything, whatever it is. This is an object, and I only want, or I'm rather only interested to filter out the names here. That's it. I don't need the location. I don't need all that stuff. I only want the names here. So what I can do in order to filter this out is that the RG names, right? That holds all these values. Because whenever I execute something known as an RG name, is returning me the entire array. So what I'll do is that I'll say it is $RG names dot resource group name. So I'll just say resource group name. So I'm using this property known as a resource group name out here. And if I now execute this particular statement, I am getting what? Test1 resource something like this, test3, test2. So I am only getting the names of the resource group. So I am doing what? A filtration out here. And let's say if I want the location, not the resource, I mean the name of the resource group out here, I can say location. I'm using this properties guys. These are the properties using which I am filtering right now. I am saying look resource group name, location and everything. And here what I'll say is that okay fine. If it is location, then East US to East US, North Europe, West US, and etc. That's what it's returning right now. So since that this property is returning since that this property is returning everything out here, I will say this is an array, right? RG names is an array of resource groups out here. I will say for each, because it's an array, I want to iterate over each and everything. I'm saying for each dollar name in RG names, opening up a loop out here, and inside for each, I only want to filter the names that start with test. I will say if now dollar name holds all these values. Every time dollar name will return the resource group name, the location, provisioning state, ID, and everything. Now I will say dollar name dot resource group name out here. So let's take this parameter out here. So I'm just copying this parameter. I'm just pasting it out here. Is like. I am using an operator not equal to. Earlier I went ahead and did an equal to. Now I'm using something known as a like parameter. Just string exactly. I'm saying is like test star star, something like this. A star here is known as a wildcard, meaning in place of star, you can have anything. You can have any string out there. Meaning, do you need to provide 2 stars? No, just 1 star is okay. Just 1 star, it will just take anything and everything inside that particular star 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, whatever it is. I'll say if the name is like test star, then firstly I will write the name. So I'll say write host name of the research group is, I'll say dollar name dot research group name. Just doing a dollar name dot research group name out here. And let me execute this loop right now to see what exactly that I'm getting out here. I am getting in return name of the resource group is test01, test02, test03. I am not getting the fourth resource group which started with a different pattern, which had a different pattern out here. So what I'll do out here is that since I'm getting this, I'm satisfied with this. Now I will say remove hyphen az resource group hyphen name of the resource group again is very simple. I'll just take this dollar name dot resource group name. I'm just taking this parameter known as dollar name dot resource group name, and now we can just go ahead execute the entire script right now. So here now guys, it's telling that for every deletion, right, it's asking you a console is coming up and it's telling that, you know what, are you sure you want to remove the resource group test01? I'll say yes, it'll go and remove it. For the test02 also, it'll do the same thing. It'll come here and say, do you want to remove it? Let's say if there are 100 resource groups that you want to remove, the only reason I'm implementing a PowerShell is that I don't need any human interaction. Then I shouldn't even need this button here, right? Telling that, you know, do you want to remove and etc. So in order to take this out, I don't need this prompt coming every time because I'm sure that I want to remove all these things out. I'll do a space here in line number 8 and I'll do a hyphen force. A force parameter out here will not give you a prompt. It will not give you something known as a human interaction out here. So once this is done, I'll say, okay, fine, great. Please go ahead and execute this out. It's telling name of the resource group is test01. Then it will take some time to go ahead and delete it out. And once it deletes it, you'll get a message known as true. This command will return something known as a boolean, true or false. If it is false, it was unable to delete it and it will fail and it will give you a true. It said it'll just say that it'll delete it out. Okay, now this is going to take some time because deletion always takes some time out there. So this is how I will write, or this is the filtration logic that I want us to focus on. That how did I filter things out? So I said, okay, fine. The RG name is like test star. This is the key, or this is, let's say, the key ingredient of the entire script that I have is that I said $name.resource group is like, and I'm using a like parameter out here, not an equal to. If I do an equal to, right, it will try to look for test star, a resource group with the name particular test star. But if I do a like, then I can use a concept known as wildcards out here. Okay, this is how I can go ahead and delete the existing resource groups using a parameter known as remove. And in here, the specific deletion that I wanted to do is only resource groups with starting with a pattern known as test star, whichever is test 01, 02, 03, whatever. I don't mind. Please go and delete every resource group with that particular pattern out here. Okay, any questions here, guys? Right. Location, ID, a dot, location, yes. Location, yes. So let's say if you only want to, let's say, get the location of something, right? Let's say here, this get hyphen az resource group. This is the entire command which is giving you name, location, and everything. In order to filter this out here itself, you can say open close parenthesis dot location. You will get the location here. Or let's say if you want the name of the resource group, you can do a dot resource group name. Whichever property is acceptable, you can go ahead and give that property out there. So you can do that also. But what I did is that instead of going here, I filtered it out in this particular line. So it depends upon what kind of a logic that you're trying to achieve. One best thing, one good thing about logics is that there is no one straight method. You can write a logic in any number of ways. So it all depends upon what you're trying to achieve, how you're trying to develop it. As far as it is working, I'm good with any kind of a logic. Whether you do a for loop, for each loop, whatever it is, I'm okay with it. But the thing is that it should work, it should be fast. So now see, it's deleted one, it said true. It's telling okay, fine. It deleted three, it said true. Then it said it deleted two, and now it'll say true, something like this. Okay, the true is coming out from this particular command here. Line number 8. It'll return a boolean, true or false. Okay, any questions here, guys? Sorry, remove. Mhm. Right. So no, you do not have an update command. The reason being, once you create a resource group name, right, that name cannot be changed. You cannot change a name. So name and location is something that you cannot change. But let's say you have tags. You can say set hyphen az resource group. Set is to modify. Even in the portal you cannot do that. So that's the, yeah, that's the reason you'll get an error here. Any more questions here, guys? Yes. Mm-hmm. Logs as in logs. Okay. Yeah, you can provide logs. Yes. Hmm. It will not be deleted. It will throw false and it'll throw an error telling that the resource group cannot be deleted. There is a log on top of it. Now, this is a resource group creation. Now, I just don't want to limit my script to a resource group creation. I also want to do much more with my script. I also want to go ahead and create a storage account using, let's say, PowerShell. Now, if I had to create a resource group, I said new hyphen az resource group. If I have to create a storage account, then what could be the command, guys? Az storage account. So when I say new hyphen az storage account, it will go ahead and create something known as a storage account for me. But storage account creation is slightly a bit, I mean, the resource group location, I mean, the resource group creation was a simple, straightforward command where you went ahead, gave the name of the resource group, and then gave, let's say, the location of the resource. But creation of a storage account has more parameters out here. So let's say I don't know anything about how to create a storage account. So let's do a simple Google search telling that how to create storage account using PowerShell. As in when I do it, it says, okay, fine, create a storage account, and it has, let's say, the Azure documentation or the Microsoft documentation out here, where it says, okay, fine, create a storage account. And here it has different things out here called PowerShell, CLI, and template. I'm interested in something like PowerShell. Now it has 4 different tabs out here: portal, PowerShell, CLI, template. I'm interested in PowerShell. It says, okay, fine. This is how you go ahead and create it. It's giving you directions. Firstly, it is telling please go ahead and have a resource group, because without a resource group, you cannot go ahead and create something like a storage account. It will throw an error. So it says, okay, fine, great. Now this is the command what Microsoft is looking for. It says new hyphen AZ storage account hyphen resource group name. The name of the resource group hyphen the name hyphen location hyphen SKU name. What is SKU out here? Is that when we created in the portal, right? You had an option called as replication, standard LRS, GRS, and etc. That replication is called as an SKU name out here. That replication is simply called as an SKU name out here. So let's try this out. So I already have a name of the resource group. So I have a resource, do not delete, and etc. So I'm just taking the name of this particular resource group out here. I'll go into my portal. I'm going to my PowerShell, and I'll say dollar $RG name is equal to, I'm hard coding it out. This is a string, I'm hard coding it out. And now I'll say new hyphen, and just wait for a second and the IntelliSense will load. Just type in AZ storage account. This is the command exists. Do a space, do a hyphen, and now the IntelliSense should load a couple of things. Like the IntelliSense sometimes may timeout. So like if you do it this again, it'll try to give you all the parameters that are required out here. It's telling resource group name first parameter. I'll take the resource group name. I'll say it is dollar RG name, because I'm already giving the resource group name out here. Then I'll say name of the storage account. So again, 3 to 24 characters, no special characters and everything. All the syntax even follows here. So I'll say storacc to abc 000 US East to something like this, so that the name can be unique. And then let me pass on a couple of more parameters out here. Let me take this out. It says SKU name. I'll take SKU name space. As and when I do a space, it's telling these are all the names that are available: standard LRS, premium LRS, and etc. So I want to go ahead and create it in something known as a standard LRS, which is space hyphen location. I say location now is something like East US 2. Then kind. There is something known as blob storage and etc. But normally we go for something like storage V2. This is the standard kind what we take on. And then access tier. You had what? Hot, cool. Same thing you will get here also. Hot or cool. I'll take hot. And now I can just say, okay, fine. Execute these 2 lines. And now it'll go ahead and create what? A storage account for me. Now what I want you all to try is that the logic what I used for RG creation, where I said parameters and etc. I want my script right now. So this is the assignment, guys. So it's something like this. Create a storage account using PowerShell. It should contain so many things. Reusability, meaning go for parameterization. Check if the storage account already exists or not. If it doesn't, go ahead create one. If it exists, please give a message telling that it already exists and give a new name. So check if else. This is what I want you all to go ahead and try out. Okay. Any questions still here, guys? And in the background, right? My storage account got created. It said this particular storage account with this name got created in this particular location and all that stuff. Go to the portal. I'll say, okay, fine. Search with this name. And I have a storage account that is created in East US 2 LRS hot tier. Okay, this is the command, and this is how you can use the documentations. New hyphen AZ storage account. Now you know the command new hyphen AZ storage account. You can just say new hyphen AZ storage account, and you'll have the documentation for it, in where you'll have multiple examples. that how can you create something, what is the parameter that it needs and everything. Okay, you can use these examples. And one best thing about it is that I am signed in into Azure portal using the same browser. You can say try it. It'll give you an option to go ahead and sign in. You can try this command from here also. You can say try, copy, and do a lot of stuff here. Okay, any questions? Any questions here, guys? Any questions that I can take? So before coming to the class tomorrow, please try the if else logic using something known as parameterization to create a storage account, meaning the script should be reusable and etc. And guys, one more thing is that I'll just put down my number here, because since that we are kind of dealing with PowerShell, I understand that you'll have a lot of questions. So please do reach out if you have any questions. So this is my number. Just ping me on WhatsApp. Anytime is okay. I'll be up until 11 p.m. in the night. So anytime till then is okay for me. Please go ahead, ping me out. When I find time, I'll reply back. So whenever you kind of get an error or something like that in PowerShell, please make sure to take a screenshot of it and kind of give it to me out. Okay. Okay. Any questions, guys? Any questions that I can take online, offline? Anyone, guys? Okay. If there are no further questions, then we're good to close the session, guys. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.